a lot of the same people that, like, loved Anora will turn around and, like, not cast an actress because she has an OnlyFans. Most of the sex workers I know, and believe me, I know a lot of sex workers, are also actresses, musicians, writers, directors, artists.
That's
Sex
fascinating.
work is paying their bills. A lot of times they're funding films and, like, play festivals with, like, money from sex work, and it's just so unfair that
Mhm.
Hollywood can celebrate sex worker stories and still punish people for doing this
Mm.
work.
What's going on, everybody? My name is Hassiem Mohammed, and you are listening to The Actor's Instrument, where we discuss the essential qualities you need to stand out in the entertainment industry. The Cinderella story from this year's Academy Awards was the independent film Anora, written and directed by Sean Baker. Just a few weeks before the big show, there was arguably no clear frontrunner for the Best Picture award. But when the dust settled, one film stood above the rest, and that was Anora. And to discuss the process of working on this incredibly raw, provocative, and surprisingly humorous movie, I'm joined today by one of the film's stars. Luna Sofia Miranda plays Lulu in Anora, the best friend of the film's titular character. And when I went to her IMDb page to do some research, I discovered that Luna has exactly one professional credit, Anora. Not a bad way to start a career. Luna, thank you so much for joining me.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
Okay, so the elephant in the room, the easy question is, how does it feel to be in an Academy Award winning picture?
It's pretty crazy, to go to the Oscars and be surrounded by famous people wearing, like, a $10,000 outfit,
That's
and then to go back to the strip club and, like, be arguing with men over, like, $20.
oof. Oof, that is crazy. That is crazy. So, okay, wait a minute. $10,000 dress. There's a lot of talk and speculation about like what really goes on at these award shows. How much does it cost just to attend I mean, you had an invite because you were part of this film, but how much did it cost you or your team for you to attend?
So, I went by myself. I
Mhm.
didn't have a plus one, but I was with some of the other girlies, Daria and Lindsay from the cast. We sat together, which was
Mhm.
really nice. I'd say between flight, car rental, stylist, publicist, hair, makeup, all of that stuff, I probably spent about 12K. Um, and
Good
that's not
God.
counting some of the stuff I had to pay for, like, to prepare for it, but I
Uh-huh.
was really lucky. A lot of the people that I worked with, including, like, a lot of the brands, gave me stuff for free or just gave me, like,
Okay.
really big discounts, and I'm just
Uh-huh.
blessed because I don't think I would have been able to do the trip, if so many people hadn't been so generous with me.
Sure. That is wild. I went to a much smaller awards show, 2 years ago. God, 2 years ago, the Helen Hayes Award, in DC. So it's like a regional award for theater. And I remember I was surprised because uh, I was nominated, the play I was in was nominated, and so, you get an invitation, and we also didn't get plus ones. And they were like, "Yeah, if you want somebody to come with you, it's $350 for a ticket for them." And I'm like at the time, my fiancé, I was like, I can't even just, like, bring my fiancé to come with me, like, for free." So, yeah, and then, of course, I had to get a suit, and I had to travel to DC and, find a place to stay, and so, yeah, there's a lot more that goes on that a lot of folks don't see.
Believe me, it hurt a lot. But I was kind of like, this feels like a once in a lifetime opportunity. Let me go and have fun.
Yeah.
And then I'll work extra shifts the rest of the year, which is what we're doing now.
Oh, boy. So that's the other piece of this kind of reality check, which I think is super important, is you were just in an Academy Award-winning film, um, and you're back to your day job,
My
night
day
job,
job at night.
your day job at night. Um, has that been challenging for you?
Well, for those who don't have context, I've been an actress and a stripper side by side for many, many, many years.
Mhm.
Anora was an opportunity that came to me because I met the producers at the strip club.
Mm.
And I think I had a lot of hope that I would be able to quit my job at the strip club and just be a full-time actress, and it became clear to me, I think after the Cannes Film Festival, that that
Uh-huh.
wasn't gonna be the case. So,
Ah.
I kind of prepared myself mentally and emotionally to go on this Cinderella experience at the Oscars and then
Yeah.
turn back into a pumpkin.
Oh, turn
And
back
it's
into a
okay,
pumpkin.
like, I've been a pumpkin my whole life, I can be a pumpkin a little longer.
That's and you know what? Like, you just said it's okay, and yeah, it is okay. And that's I'm so glad you're being so transparent about this because this is a big part of the reason why I created the show is to kind of pull back the curtain and demystify what it is like to really be in this business. Like, guys, it's not everybody likes to say, "Oh, I just need the one job. I just need to book one thing." And it's like,
No.
"Nah, you probably need to book a bunch of things." And in decent succession in order for you to step away from the work you were doing previously. Um, Now, was there at a certain point at which you, the cast, and the creative team, like, felt like you had a real shot to win? Because I mean, and correct me if it felt different for you, but I felt like Honora didn't really seem like a front runner until almost like the 11th hour.
I think that when Mikey won Best Actress and when Sean won Best Director, we were like,
Mm.
"Okay," like, I turned to the people next to me and I was like, "Hi, can you switch seats with me? Like, I'm gonna have to run in these, like, 8-inch heels because I think we're gonna win Best Picture." And
That's a
imagine
gangster
how
move.
embarrassing that would have been if we didn't win Best Picture.
Right.
Yeah.
That's a great move. But okay, so that's when it hit you during the show. What about before the show? Like going into it, the weeks leading up to it. Again, you're prepping, you're getting your dress and everything. Like how how big of a chance did you guys feel like you had?
This is gonna sound so arrogant, but it's really not at all a reflection of, like, me. I just think that since this movie came out, people have been obsessed with it, and sex work is just, like, a really hot button issue, and I feel
Sure.
like a lot of people were just kind of captivated by that, so I was like,
Mhm.
"I bet it's gonna win."
Mm.
Yeah.
Mm. Hey, no, I mean, good for you believing in and you were right. So, like no shame in the game. Um, and I agree. I think sex work is a real hot topic right now. Do y Again, and of course, be honest, like, I feel like there's maybe a line between, like, exploitation, right, and something being tactful or whatever. Um, how do you feel like the team, especially Sean, was able to navigate this topic of sex work in such an artful way?
Well, a lot of sex workers who worked on the film, myself included, were consultants. There were
Mm,
consultants. Angia Warhun, who's in Toronto, was brought on to
mhm,
look at the script. I was brought on, like, while they were shooting to talk to Sean and Mikey about authenticity. Kennedy Schneider was her dance consultant. So there was, like, a team of sex workers working behind the scenes
okay.
to kind of, like, not really make decisions, but, like, try and, like, I guess, illuminate things that we thought could be more authentic or just be,
Sure,
like, better representation.
sure, sure. Now, so you guys did some consultation, but there's a bit of controversy because you guys did not have an intimacy coordinator. And I don't know if you're not allowed to talk about it, but I'm gonna ask the question. Um, did you feel like that impacted y'all's work on the film at all? Do you feel like it's just kind of like an afterthought that you're maybe like, it wasn't really that big of a deal, or was it a big deal?
I really hope that as Hollywood continues to tell sex worker stories and it seems like people want real sex workers on set, I really hope that film sets will do everything in their power to put, like, the guardrails in place to make sure that all of the sex workers on set are safe and taken care of.
Copy. I understand. I understand. And it's one of those things, with especially independent films, where every line item really does matter. You know, it's and not to say not to make an excuse for it, because I also believe that intimacy coordination is incredibly important. I mean, we had
Agreed.
Alicia Rodas, who is the co-founder of Intimacy Coordination, was one of my first guests on this show.
Oh my god, wow, I would
Yeah,
love to listen to that episode.
you should check it out. Alicia is awesome. Today's her birthday. Happy birthday, Alicia.
Happy
Uh,
birthday, Alicia.
it will not be her birthday when this episode comes out, but today at this time of recording, I just texted her a couple hours ago. Um, yeah, and so like the work that they're doing is incredibly, I think, important and necessary. And I also, again, not an excuse, but I could see a world in which on an independent film, that is something that's maybe, glossed over, especially because I don't know if we've had quite the cultural shift yet, you know?
No, I think there's a lot of resistance to intimacy coordinators, like, just across the board, not even just in
Yeah,
indie films. It's like there's, like, a real big pushback, I think.
yeah.
Um, but hopefully that will change. I shot my short film last fall, and I had an intimacy Emily, actually, our mutual friend, was
Heard.
the intimacy coordinator for my film,
Oh, sick.
and it was really wonderful to I'd never worked with an intimacy coordinator before,
Mhm.
and even though it was my set, I really wanted one for everyone, because there were 20 people on set, and I just feel like it elevated my understanding of, like, how to behave, like, when you're on set,
Mm,
and I feel like it helped me up my game and, like, level up.
sure, sure.
Yeah.
Well, because it kinda takes the, like, personal out of it, it's like it's choreography. It's this hand goes here, that goes there,
Yeah.
you know? And I've had the extreme pleasure of working with Alicia. She was the intimacy coordinator, on a production of The Three Musketeers that I did, which is not necessarily a show where you would think about having an intimacy coordinator, but there's a lot of, like, touching each other's bodies because we're constantly, like, fighting each other and rolling around, and, like, there's a romantic thing, between the 2 leads, the male and female lead. Um, but yeah, it's such a different way of working. Um, but I think, as you said, like, it's important to have those guardrails in place to set those boundaries. Now, uh, of course, it was your goal after, the film to be able to maybe step away from the work that you do outside of acting. Have you noticed an impact on your career so far? Like, have you noticed, like, an increase in auditions or requests for things? How's it been post academy? I know it's just a couple weeks ago, so also maybe too soon, but I'm just curious.
I have received an increase in auditions. I
Okay.
receive a lot of auditions for sex worker parts, and some are more considerate than
Oh,
others.
boy.
People also send me a lot of scripts, like, on Instagram, and once again, some are more, thoughtful than
Mhm.
others, but, I'm grateful for any amount of, like, attention that I'm getting.
Yeah.
Um, I shot a feature last October that's
Mhm.
gonna come out this year
Oh,
called
sick.
Youthful Pleasures, also an indie feature. But aside from that and my own film that I produced, it was not the result I was hoping for,
Sure.
but, it's alright. Like,
Yeah.
everything happens when
Yeah.
when it's supposed to happen, I think.
Yeah. That's fair, that's fair, and I mean, you seem to be handling it pretty well. And again, I think it's important for us to shed a light on the fact that, like, just nothing in this business is guaranteed, and one thing does not guarantee the next thing, which is can
No,
be a
people
tough
think
pill
I'm
to.
rich. People think I'm rich. Some guy DM'd me and was like, I want you to be in my movie about, like, a prostitute who's, like, in a relationship with her pimp, and it's a game of cat and mouse, like, also, can you executive produce it?" And I'm like, "First of all, you used the P word, which we don't use.
Mm,
Someone who doesn't I'm not even, like, a stickler for political correctness because everybody makes mistakes, and if I can tell that you just
sure.
didn't know the right word, I'm not gonna get mad at you. But when
Sure.
someone uses the word prostitute, what that tells me is that you're not friends with any sex workers. And it's like,
Uh,
why are you writing a script about sex workers when you're so clearly like, removed from this
Mhm.
community, and he was like, "Can you executive produce my film?" And I was like, "I'm not rich."
I just spent $12,000 to go to the Oscars.
Yeah, and it's gonna take me a long time to recover.
Okay, so prostitute isn't the correct term. I guess sex worker is the PC word.
Yeah.
What's the difference?
So, I mean, I don't even really think for me, it's not about being PC because I
Mhm.
know sex workers who use the word prostitute. I think it's also a
Sure.
generational thing, but I
Mhm.
think prostitute is really like it's a criminal term, it's a carceral term. And in an
Mm,
effort to decriminalize and destigmatize the industry, the term sex worker is preferred.
I see.
Yeah, it was coined by a sex worker, I think. I don't Carol Lee, but we have to check that because I'm
Sure.
not sure.
Don't hold us to it, folks.
Yeah,
Got you. Great.
but I think that term also just centers the fact that we are workers and we are working, and that's really
Mhm.
what the community wants, like, the world to understand is, like, this is a job. We are
Mm.
working. Let us do our jobs. And, I guess prostitution, most people think of, like, selling sex in exchange for money. Sex work
Mhm.
is an umbrella term for, people who are selling sex, for strippers, for cam girls, for OnlyFans, for sugar babies. It's also kind of like a way of like uniting ourselves.
I see. I
Yeah.
see. I see. And what do you feel like the film Anora did for the sex worker community?
I think after Nora came out, a lot of sex workers felt motivated to like start writing scripts and plays and tell their own stories.
Mhm.
Last night at the strip club, actually, someone came. She was also a fellow sex worker. She brought me a bouquet of flowers. She ordered my dinner and like tipped me a bunch of money and handed me like a script in an envelope and was like, I want you to read my script. Like, I wanna work on this
Wow.
project with you, and I wanted to cry just because I feel like only another hoe would, like, make that kind of gesture for me, and I think it's because of Anora that she even knew who I was and, like,
Yeah.
found me on Instagram.
Mm. Now, how is it okay, and again, and forgive me because I just don't know, but it seems like, as you said, it's a world you would like to get out of. So how is that for you when that seems to be the thing that people are most presenting to you as an opportunity is to continue to exist in that world in a different way, storyteller versus it's really you, but still that same world.
That's a really good question, actually, and let me think about it for a second
Sure.
before I answer because I wanna give you a good answer. So, I would eventually like to leave the strip club
Mhm.
because I'm grateful for my job. There are periods of time where I've been like the happiest person working at the club.
Mhm.
Eventually, I would like to leave, but I'm also not in a rush. It pays for my life. It's given me a really good quality of life. And also, all my homies are at the club. And so I'm doing this very like delicate dance of going back and forth between the film world and the strip club. And my main reason for wanting to leave the club is actually just because it's exhausting to go back and forth.
Sure.
Like if I was
Yeah.
just yeah. If I
No,
was
it doesn't seem like easy work.
no, it's oh my god, it's so it's so tiring. If I was just stripping or just acting, it would be a lot easier, but because I'm doing both, I'm kind of like I don't wanna do both, I have to pick one, and acting has,
Yeah.
been my dream, but
Sure.
I don't wanna create the impression that I'm like, I want to escape from the club because it's, like, fine, like,
Sure.
I'm,
But also, I mean, your truth is your truth. If you do want to escape it, that's you're only speaking for yourself. Like I don't think anybody, or I should say nobody on the show should take anything you're saying as anything but your experience, right? Like you're not here to speak for all sex workers, so I don't take it that way at least. Like I think it's fair. There's a lot of work I've done in the past that I used to walk dogs. I got nothing against people walking dogs. Dogs got to be walked.
but you don't
I
wanna walk dogs anymore.
Right, I don't wanna, and thankfully I don't. I haven't done dog walking in years, like 5 years, but But there was a time in which, like you said, like, it helped my quality of life. Like, it could you maybe be surprised at how you make some good money walking dogs.
I'm sure you
Um,
can, especially in New York City.
yeah, but and not to compare dog walking to, sex work,
It's
digging
okay.
myself this hole here,
No, don't worry.
but just to say, like, I get it. Like, all jobs are not created equal. Not all work is easy work or flattering work or work that we wanna do forever, and it's totally fair to say, like, I wanna be an actor, you know? I think that's great. I think that it's great that you've made a decision to say, like, "That's really where I want to direct myself," you know?
Yeah. Well, I wish I could do both, but it's extremely difficult just from, like, a time management point of view, but also, the stigma is real, and a lot of the same people that, like, loved Anora will turn around and, like, not cast an actress because she has an OnlyFans or
Oh,
because
yeah.
she's, like, a webcam model, and I that's really what I'm trying to push is saying it's okay for someone to do both. In fact, most of the sex workers I know, and believe me, I know a lot of sex workers, are also actresses, musicians, writers, directors, artists.
That's
Sex
fascinating.
work is paying their bills. A lot of times they're funding films and like play festivals with like money from sex work. And it's just so unfair that
Mhm.
Hollywood can celebrate sex worker stories and still punish people for doing this
Mm.
work.
So that's fascinating because I had no idea. As you say it, like, I'm not, like, surprised, um, but I genuinely had no idea, um, but it makes I mean, being an actor is hard, y'all, it's like, it's so hard, and, like, people do a lot of things to stay in this business and a lot of things that maybe they wouldn't disclose or are maybe not necessarily proud of. Um, I interviewed, another guest on the show just a couple weeks ago about safety on set, and we were talking about, like, illicit drug use and, like, just how many people, like, in our business, like, are on some, like, hardcore drugs, like, just because it's like, I'm up all night, and then I gotta be on set all day, and I need something to keep me up, and then I need something to put me down, and it's a hard business.
Yeah, people in the film industry use more drugs than people in the strip club. I swear. It's like actually insane.
Yeah. No, I mean, you're right, 'cause, the statistic was something like the entertainment industry is, like, the 2nd highest level of drug use of any industry is our business, which is crazy. Now I'd love to get into the process of working on the film. Um, okay, so you met the filmmakers at the club. What was the audition process like? Were they just like, because I know Sean, he's kind of known for casting, undiscovered talent. So, what was that process like?
So I met them in June of 2022, and then 6 months later in December, they asked me to audition, and I sent an audition tape, and I was like, "There's no fucking way they're gonna cast me in this film," and I submitted, like, an audition tape that was, like, full of, like, bloopers, like, I kept breaking character and, like, cracking up, like, it was utterly over the top and, like, insane.
Uh-huh.
Because I was like, "They're not gonna cast me, so I might as well just send, like, fuck it, like, caution to the
Yeah.
wind." And they called me on my birthday and were like, "We wanna offer you the part of Lulu." And I was like, "What the fuck?"
Wow.
Yeah.
That's how it goes though, right? It's like the ones that we're just like, F it." It's the ones where you really want it and you spent all week working on your lines and sending the perfect tape, like crickets.
Yeah.
Okay, that's cool, and I think a great lesson for us to hear is like, listen, guys, don't put too much pressure on yourself. Like, have fun with your tape because you never know. You don't know what they're looking for. Um, the film for me was surprisingly hilarious. It was at certain because it starts off like super intense, super intense, super provocative. But then like the second act was like a full on comedy. Did it feel that way shooting?
Um, so my first day on set was the New Year's Eve party, and that was just so much fun. We were up all night in this big mansion in Mill Basin. shooting like Roman candles and drinking out of like the ice sculpture with the bus.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And we were just having so much fun. The rest of the shoot for me, because all my scenes were in the club, was a lot of stopping and starting,
Mhm.
which can that's like another thing about being an actor is you have to be built not for the stunts, but for all of the sitting around and standing around
Waiting.
that you're gonna do. I was like, "Oh my god, like, my body is not, like, prepared for this." But it was that first day that was really fun because we just kept
Sure.
rolling.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
being on set, I resonate with that. It's a lot of hurry up and wait. You know, your call time's like 5 AM, and then you're there for, like, 3 hours, and they bring you breakfast, and then they're like, "Alright, here we go," and they're like, "Oh, no, the light's not right, go back," and then you got yeah, so it's like that.
Yeah.
Um, what was the most challenging part of working on the film?
The most challenging part of working on the film,
Mhm.
um,
If there was something in particular for you.
it was really cold, and we were wearing these, like, skimpy little outfits.
Yeah. It was cold, like, in the club that y'all were shooting in?
The
Like, the
club
interior.
was okay. It was on the New Year's Eve party. We shot some
Mm,
scenes outside, and I was dying.
word.
Yeah.
I I was on, I'm currently in the middle of this, audio project, and I was chatting with an actor yesterday on set at the booth, whatever, um, and he was talking about a role he had where he had to be, like, covered in mud and, like, laying in, like, this, like, pit, and he was like, "It was so cold." And it's just
I
the stuff that, like, people don't think like, we watch these movies, and we're, like, enjoying it from the audience perspective, and it's like, the shit that actors have to endure to tell these stories is crazy sometimes.
I won't give anything away, but on the feature I did in the fall, Youthful Pleasures, I had to do some difficult things. I
Mm,
went to my happy place.
mm. Is there anything again, not a critique on the films you've worked on, but in general, is there anything you feel like our industry could do better to make actors, to help actors have maybe a more positive experience, feel more comfortable on set?
When I shot Youthful Pleasures in October and November of 2024, we were working really long days. We were sometimes up till the crack of dawn, and I had to do things. My character was in a bathing suit for a lot of the film, and I had to do things outdoors, like, while it was snowing. I had
Oof.
the time of my fucking life. I was like, "Rock and roll, baby, let's do this," because the
Uh,
people surrounding me were so kind to me, and even
uh,
though it was a low budget film, they did everything in their power to make sure I was comfortable. They got a space heater, they got me a bathrobe, they're like, "What's your favorite warm drink?" And they got it for me, and I literally would do it over and over again.
mm.
Yeah,
That's awesome. That's awesome. You're right, kindness does go a long way.
yeah.
Was there anything that you learned from working with Sean? I mean, dude just won 4 Oscars in one night.
Um, I mean, he works very Sean works incredibly hard. He, like, does not stop, and he just gives all his effort and energy to making sure that
Oh.
he's, like, getting the shot that he wants and that
Mhm,
getting, like he's delivering the product that he wants to deliver, and
mhm,
watching him work, I don't know how he does it. It's
uh,
filmmaking is so hard, and he's really dedicated to it, and
yeah,
it's like wow, like, that's what it takes
and
to
it's paying off, clearly. It's clearly paying off. He's doing really well. Is there a particular part of the experience of working on Anora that you're gonna take forward with you into your next project?
That's a really good question.
And I don't think I've asked it, to be honest, but I've also never had somebody who was a part of an Academy Award-winning film before. Um, so yeah, I'm just curious.
Wow, that's a really good question. Um, I guess I made a lot of friends on that set
Mhm,
that I think are gonna stay with me forever.
mhm,
The PAs, the ADs, like the hair and makeup department, a lot of them are my homies now. A lot of them worked on my film that I produced,
Mhm.
and I think, like, I'm gonna keep them.
Bet. No, it's great, it's great. I mean, a lot of my close friends I met working on projects. You know, it's there's something about being in the trenches, as it were, you know, with a
Yeah,
particular group of people.
yeah.
So as you move forward in your career, are you more interested in continuing down the indie film route, or are you, in talks with your manager about like, hey, can we get in from more like studio film and TV stuff?
I would love to do both. I would love to do studio and TV and make that paycheck and then, like,
Yeah.
actually be able to, like, afford to do indie film.
Mm.
Um, yeah, I want that paycheck. I want
um,
money, but I
and
also know that we're in a very risk-averse industry right now, and I'm a risk,
yes,
like, I'm not like a typical, I guess, Hollywood girl, and I'm fine with
yeah.
that. I feel a lot of pressure to conform, but I don't want to. So I think I might not be, like, considered for as many parts because of that, but I
Hmm.
just can't live my life pretending to, like, be something I'm not.
Luna, I got one final question for you.
Okay.
I know you're still early in your career, but I'm curious. What is the defining quality that you bring to the table as a storyteller?
Oh god. That's a very difficult question.
What sets you apart when you step on set?
What sets me apart when I step on set?
Mhm.
Um, God, that's a really good question. I don't know how to answer it. I think that
Like
I'm
if somebody was gonna like if you stepped into someone else's shoes, right? Like a filmmaker's shoes, and they were like, "Oh my god, they see your audition, they're like, we need to book her." Why?
I mean, I work hard. I work really hard. I think I have, like, a really strong work ethic. Maybe it's because I come from an immigrant family and, like, my
Mm,
I work in an industry like, when you're a stripper, you do not get paid. You usually pay to work, and if you wanna go home with money, you have to hustle. Like, no one's gonna give you money, so I think I'm just, like I'm a little worker bee, like, I've been primed to just be a workhorse.
mm.
So, if you if you want, like, a hard worker on set, like, I'm your girl.
Heard. I mean, there is no replacement for hard work. Talent can get you so far, connections can get you so far, but when you have to step on set, when you have to do those incredibly long days in a bikini in the middle of a snowstorm, it's like you got to be able to bring the goods.
Yeah.
So, well, Luna, thank you so much, obviously for coming onto the show, but more importantly for your transparency, for your honesty. I feel like it's a very vulnerable thing, for you to have worked on Anora, for you to have worked on the film, and then go back to your night job. And I just appreciate you being so candid with our listeners today.
Well, thank you so much for having me.
If you enjoyed that conversation, then you should really check out a recent interview I did with the co-creator of Intimacy Direction, Alicia Rodas. Guys, thank you so much for tapping into this episode of The Actor's Instrument. We'll be back next Tuesday. Till next time, y'all. Peace.